Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
You may think that this is a new development, that generations before ours didn't have these disputes. But let's read a passage from G.K. Chesterton. Chesterton was making fun of the BBC for censoring some controversial comments from George Bernard Shaw. But then Chesterton started talking about skepticism and how skepticism went from skepticism of supernatural claims to skepticism of moral claims to skepticism of totally ordinary claims.
Ordinary household toaster.
We'll take your word for that.
The BBC has broadcast any number of speeches on any number of subjects on which it is quite impossible for anyone to speak without expressing opinions that are widely controverted. But the case grows worse and worse every day as more and more principles come, in practice, to be controverted. For the secular society of today is skeptical not merely about spiritual assumptions, but about its own secular assumptions. It has not merely broken the church window or besieged the tower of tradition, it has also kicked away the ladder of progress by which it had climbed. The Declaration of Independence, once the Charter of Democracy, begins by saying that certain things are self-evident. If we were to trace the history of the American mind from Thomas Jefferson to William James, we should find that fewer and fewer things were self-evident, until at last, hardly anything is self-evident. So, far from it being self-evident to the modern man that men are created equal, it is not self-evident that men are created, or even that men are men. They are sometimes supposed to be monkeys muddling through a transition stage before the Superman. But there is not only doubt about mystical things, not even only about moral things. There is most doubt of all about rational things. I do not mean that I feel these doubts, either rational or mystical, but I mean that a sufficient number of modern people feel them to make unanimity an absurd assumption. Reason was self-evident before pragmatism. Mathematics were self-evident before Einstein. But this skepticism is throwing thousands into a condition of doubt, not about a cult, but about obvious things. We shall soon be in a world in which a man may be howled down for saying that 2 and 2 make 4.
Why would they change math? Math is math.
Okay,
Math
Dad.
is math.
In which furious party cries will be raised against anybody who says that cows have horns.
They do move in herds.
In which people will persecute the heresy of calling a triangle a three-sided figure and hang a man for maddening a mob with the news that grass is green.
But before we pick up our torches and pitchforks, let's take a moment and figure it out.
People will persecute the heresy of using the traditional definition of a triangle. They'll hang someone for saying that grass is green. Chesterton wrote this in 1926, almost 100 years ago. He predicted a war against the obvious, a war against the self-evident, a war against the rational. And here we are, ready to burn civilization to the ground over some pronouns.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am. Well, I'm going to ask you for the 5th time to stop calling me a man, because quite clearly I am not.
Human society is stagnating. In fact, you're regressing. You've stopped moving forward.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
So light your torches, sharpen your pitchforks, and get your mob on!
Your request is not logical.
Whoever said the human race was logical?